If they could do everything they wanted, how many lives did they want to live? And the average answer was 7. So we all have way too much life in us than we can contain in a lifetime. Have you ever felt that when you choose a life, choose a partner, choose a path, that at the same time, there's lots of things that you also say no to at the same time? And then you keep wondering, like, did I make the right decision? Did I choose the right path? Is this what I'm meant to do? And you just become paralyzed instead? Well, today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Sylvia Plath fig tree analogy and why you contain too much life for your lifetime. Welcome to this channel. It's called The Velvet Intellectual. It's where we like glamour just as much as substance. And I'm your host, Emma Martinez Arpstrand. I'm a 35-year-old mother, writer, author, journalist. And today we're going to talk about something that is really close to my heart. And that is, every time I make a big decision, I immediately feel, have I done the right decision? I start questioning myself. I start looking back to the things I left and wondering, was it a good thing? Was it a good thing to move from that city to this city? And was it a good thing to go on this career path instead of that career path? At some point, you just become paralyzed by all the choices. And there's like too many choices for our brain to actually comprehend in this modern day world. We're going to start with a very, very good analogy for this feeling. And it comes from Sylvia Plath's very known book, The Bell Jar. In this book, the main character is experiencing this emotion when you feel like there's so many different paths you can take and you're standing at a crossroads and you don't know where to go. But Sylvia describes it as she's sitting under a fig tree and there's just all these delicious figs, but she can't choose one because when she chooses one, that means that she leaves all the other ones. So instead of choosing a fig, she is hungry, she's starving beneath the fig tree because she can't choose. And I think a lot of us can really relate to this feeling, especially when you're young. I'm 35, I'm sure I'll have this feeling for the rest of my life. So I grew up in a really small town, about 10,000 people living there. And it just felt like a lot of the people I grew up with, they just knew exactly what they wanted to be, knew exactly what they wanted to do. I remember my best friend and I, we were just dreaming about moving to Italy when we were 18 and swimming with dolphins. It sounds ridiculous when I'm saying it now, but yeah, that was on our bucket list. But she stayed in our hometown and she has a family there and she works in a factory there. And a lot of people did that. A lot of people do that. And it's a thing that a lot of people can look down upon, like wondering why people want to, like, isn't it stagnation or whatever? But for me, who's been, as my mom said, kind of rootless, and not rootless as in brutal, but in root. I don't have any roots in my tree. I've been moving around a lot, trying lots of things, like throwing myself out because like I want to experience as much as this world can give. But at the same time, I've also been very jealous of those people who just seem content, who never question their way in life. They just live in a good life and they're just happy and satisfied with it. And I don't know, maybe we're just wired differently and I'm not one of those people. I mean, I think I'm starting to. The older you get, the less also you have the energy to move and start over all again. Anyway, I used to really, really feel like Sylvia in the bell jar. I used to always wonder, like, oh, if I'm choosing this, what about this? Like when I was growing up, I really, like, I studied theater. I'm like, what would have happened if I just have went with that? It just seemed like a very, very unstable career to do. And that's also like an episode for another time, talking about like how the economic upbringing would come from and how that can sometimes hinder your dreams. Because I was definitely growing up with the you have to be able to pay your bills kind of mindset, which is great, but it also makes you then maybe not try to be an actor because you're probably not going to be able to pay your bills all the time. I read this book. It's called How to Live a Meaningful Life. And I know that a lot of people who are like intellectual and that probably look down on like self-help books and stuff like that. But this is actually based on design thinking, and it questions the whole thing about like, oh, I need to have a purpose, one purpose, and how do I make a meaningful life? Instead, Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, who work at Stanford, argue that you should have meaningful moments. You can't have like a meaningful life. You should have meaningful moments, and you should build your life on that. And instead of like having a purpose and like, oh, this can feel very overwhelming. And where the fuck do you start? Like, what is my purpose? And especially if you're like me and you're into so many different things, then you're like, and everyone's saying, you should niche down, you should niche down. Then it's hard because again, you choose a niche, then you're saying goodbye to all this other stuff that you're also interested in. But they argue that instead of choosing a purpose, you should have multiple purposes and you should try to expand yourself and learn. And instead of like picking a lane, you pick different lanes and you do a little bit of that and you do a little bit of this and you have meaningful moments. They conducted a study that I find very interesting, where they asked students that were taking their class, probably other people as well, I can't remember now, but they asked people how many lives, if they could do everything they wanted, how many lives did they want to live? And the average answer was 7. So we all have way too much life in us than we can contain in a lifetime. Like there's a life where maybe I'm in Hollywood, or maybe I am an actress, or maybe there's one where or maybe there's another life where I'm a volunteer worker, or like the lonely journalist correspondent. That was also been a big dream. Or maybe the woman who is a teacher. Like all these things, living in different places, all these lives that we want to live. It's just heartbreaking, but we can't live them. We don't have time to live them. So instead of seeing it like you're choosing something, and that means that you're saying no to something, maybe we should look at it as just saying no to it right now. But it doesn't mean that we can't come back to it later in life. I did choose. I did pick my fix. I chose journalism. I really wanted to be a writer, but that was, kind of like the actor thing. Like, how can you survive on that? I mean, I don't have rich parents that could bail me out every month. And I choose my husband, which is the best decision I've ever made. We met on Tinder. He was living in San Francisco at the time. I was living here in Stockholm. And we got married after 9 months. But yeah, and I have my kids and I have my career. I recently switched from journalism to corporate communication. Those echoes of the other lives that I could have had or could have lived, they're still in me and they don't disappear. And that's okay. And it's okay also to feel sorry for the lives that you're not going to be able to live. That is life. And I think that is one of the hard things that we all, especially if you have this side of yourself that you want to try, you want to explore, and you want more, and you just feel this inside of you so much that making a decision then can really be tough. But yeah, your unlived lives, they don't disappear. You can go to them in your fantasy. You can try to make them happen also in small ways. Try to incorporate a little different things. It's never too late to start over as well. But also, choosing is a great fucking thing that we can do. There's so many people out in the world who can't choose. So we should be really, really appreciative of all the choices that we can make. And instead of feeling paralyzed by them, we should honor them. Okay? So let's do that. Let's be proud of the choices we make. Let's live with the fact that we have too much life in ourselves that we can't contain for a whole lifetime, but we can have meaningful moments. We can still find our purpose and our passion, and we can do it. And it doesn't have to be our entire identity. It doesn't have to be our entire life. And we can live different lives within our life. So, which fig are you gonna pick? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope that this has inspired you to take some action or to view this whole conundrum in a different way. I'm just starting out here. I hope we can explore and learn together through this journey. Like, subscribe, and share. Till next time, this is the Velvet Intellectual saying goodbye.